delighted to be here this morning to give to you the scorecard, the newly created Ministry of Communications Technology. This ministry was created in July 2011 in realization of the role that ICTs can play and have played in the development and growth and transformation of emerging and developed economies. The ministry was created by the bifurcation of the Ministry of Information and Communications. At inception, we inherited 3 agencies: the Nigerian Communications Commission, the regulator of the telecoms industry, Nigeria IT Development Agency, and NIPOST, and 2 limited liability companies, Galaxy Backbone and National. The mandate of the ministry is to leverage information and communication technology for national socio-economic development. Let me just spend a few minutes talking about the overall state and the context of the industry so that I can set the context for the priorities of the ministry and how we hope to achieve the mandate that we have been given. The Nigerian ICT industry is a high-growth industry. One fact, this industry was the fastest growing sector of the Nigerian economy in 2010 and 2011, delivering year-on-year growth of about 30% and contributing 5.46% to GDP. When you break the sector down into its component parts, this is almost like a traffic light symbol of the industry. You will see that the green are the sectors of the industry that are high growth, the amber are those that are medium growth, and the red are those that are low growth. What this slide really shows is that all sectors of the ICT, all the subsectors of the ICT sector are growing, and their capacity and ability to deliver jobs is also very significant. However, what we have seen in looking at this industry is that the domestic value added, or the local participation in this industry is optimal. When you look at the graphics on the right, out of the 690,000 computers that were bought in this country, only 30% of them were made by local manufacturers. Out of 70% were from foreign manufacturers. Out of the SIM cards that were used in our telephones, every single one of them is produced outside of this country. Mobile phones, you know the story. And in 2011, we transferred 59 billion naira to pay for purchase and maintenance of software. So basically, this is an industry that is seeing very high growth, but in terms of our participation in that industry, there's still quite good for various reasons, and I'll go into them later. The playing field is uncompetitive. It's a difficult environment, as it is for other sectors of the economy, and there is, of course, a consumer preference for global versus local brands. In the industry, there is over 7.78 terabytes of data that is available on the shores of Nigeria. Undersea cables that have landed in Lagos in the last 5 years, 7.78 terabytes. There is only 50,000 kilometers thereabouts of fiber optic cable, and there are only 18,000 base transceiver stations in this country. When you compare us to countries that are half the size or double the size with half the population, their infrastructure is much better than this, with the exception, of course, of the undersea cable. And that is why you see the statistics around ICT penetration that we have today. Despite the fact that we have 90-something million mobile phone subscribers, 600 million subscribers, sorry, we have only 58% mobile penetration. And this is actually one of the lowest in Africa. You can see that on the slide there. Our internet subscription rate is really 3.6% of the population, even though we have 52 million subscribers. What that means is, sorry, 52 million users. What that means is that many of us are accessing the internet in public access venues, in cyber cafes, in our offices, in schools. Not many of us have this direct connection to the internet. Our broadband, which is fast internet penetration, is only 6%. And the average internet download speed in this country is just 1.8 megabits/second. Again, one of the lowest in Africa. Let me just ask the audience a question. The people that are participating on various social media will also answer this question. I will define a digital device as anything that allows you access to voice, data, to the internet. So I'll ask the question, how many of you in this room today have one digital device by which you access voice or data? How many of you have one digital device? Just one. So everybody everybody should have at least one, a mobile phone, an iPad, a computer. How many have two? How many have three? How many have four? The truth is that you're not representatives of the rest of Nigeria, those of you that have even one digital device. Most Nigerians have been excluded from the growth and development that this industry can deliver, and the development that can be aided by information and communication technology. This just shows you some of the contrasts that we have in Nigeria today, in education, in health, and in agriculture. In terms of IT and government, e-governance or e-government is a means of transforming the way that government operates. Unfortunately, we are still ranking quite low in that area. In terms of quality of service, you are well aware of what has been happening in the telephone industry. The NCC, the regulator, has recently fined our operators about 1.2 billion naira for poor quality of service. I won't go into this, but this just shows you the statistics that are available on the NCC website. Now, I've done this to just begin to start around what we are doing and why we are doing what we're doing. Because of the context that I've just described to you, we have four priorities within the Ministry of Communication Technology. The first priority is infrastructure. We need to connect Nigeria. We need to improve on the speed, the quality, and the cost of service of our ICT infrastructure. Inclusive development is another way, connecting Nigerians and bridging the internal digital divide that we see in Nigeria today that is different from the external digital divide between Nigerian and developing economies. We also need to create jobs. We need to increase the local value that is added in this industry and increase domestic participation in this new digital economy that we are creating. Finally, we need to focus on e-government as a means of transparency and efficiency in government and citizen engagement. And of course, overall in all of this is a sound, consistent regulatory and policy environment. Let me now move to what we have been doing over the last 9 months or so. First of all, in terms of connecting Nigeria, what we are doing as a ministry is what ministries are supposed to do. We are trying to create that enabling environment for the accelerated rollout of a robust, reliable, and cost-effective ICT infrastructure to increase citizens' access to ICTs. You will see that some of the work has been done, and some of it is still work in progress. We have very recently working with the Ministry of Works. We have standardized the right-of-way procurement for our infrastructure providers that want to lay fiber optic cable that will deliver the fast internet to all of us in our offices and homes. We have reduced the approval time to 30 days. We have standardized the cost at 14,500 naira per linear kilometer. We have included in those guidelines some guidelines for infrastructure. So when an infrastructure provider has access to right of way, they must put in redundancy so that we don't keep digging up our roads and dropping them back again. And also, as new roads, especially federal highways, have been built, we will incorporate in those roads service hubs whilst pull fiber optic cable so we don't have to dig up the road once it is constructed. We are working with the National Economic Council and the commissioners of state for ICT and also works for to cascade these guidelines down to the state and the local government level, harmonizing and standardizing the way that our infrastructure providers access right of way and actually make fiber optic cable. We are working on the multiple and illegal taxes that our telecoms operators and telecoms providers are subject to. Telecoms is on the exclusive list and should only be taxed by the federal government. We have seen many cases of illegal and multiple taxes. The industry has been working, and again, we're working with the state governments to ensure that we reduce the constraints in laying out this fiber optic infrastructure. We also had the embarrassing situation of 2 government agencies closing down base stations. What we're doing right now is to ensure that the closure of a base station is the last resort. We're harmonizing the regulations for base station approval, and we want to make sure that base station is the last resort. Because this is infrastructure that is critical. When you go to other countries, you cannot operate a business, even in Nigeria, you cannot operate a business without having access to ICT. I don't know how many of us will be able to survive one whole day without the telephone. So what we're doing, in addition to harmonizing the standards for base station approval, is that we're also working on what is called a critical national infrastructure bill. We're preparing the draft for that bill, but in the meantime, given the time that it takes to prepare bills, the stakeholder consultations, and the process to the National Assembly, we are working with the Attorney General of the Federation to see if we can issue and gazette guidelines that will make the willful damage